She didn't just ask for the house. She asked the judge to protect my children from me. He has been emotionally unstable for years, Kelly said, voice steady, eyes dry. My children deserve safety. Safety. 34 years of working overtime, paying for braces, paying for rehab, paying for art school, reduced to one word, unstable. The courtroom didn't gasp, it nodded. That was worse. My son Ethan didn't look at me. My daughter Lily sat frozen, her fingers digging into her sleeve. Olivia, my oldest, stared at the table like she was afraid to choose a side. Kelly looked composed, polished, victorious. Your Honor, her attorney continued smoothly. We are requesting full custody of Lily and a permanent no-contact order. Permanent, no contact. The judge turned toward me slowly. Mr. Collins, do you contest these claims? This was the moment. I could have stood up. I could have opened my briefcase. I could have destroyed her right there. Instead, I said two words that made even my lawyer inhale sharply. I agree. A woman behind me whispered, what kind of father gives up? Kelly didn't hide her smile. She leaned close as she passed me. You'll die alone, she whispered. That was the first time my jaw tightened. Not because I believed her. Because she did. The judge signed the preliminary order. Gavel down. Case closed. Kelly turned to the gallery. Some men just aren't strong enough to keep a family together. Soft applause. Soft applause. I didn't react, because inside my leather briefcase was something stronger than anger. 3 DNA reports, 2 exclusions, and a timeline that would burn her entire version of reality. As we sat back down, my attorney leaned toward me. If you say the word, he whispered, we can stop this. I kept my eyes on Kelly. She was already texting someone. Celebrating. Not yet, I whispered back. Because people who think they've won, stop being careful. And I needed her careless. She thought the divorce was the end. It was the trap. The first crack didn't happen in court. It happened in a hospital hallway that smelled like antiseptic and cheap coffee. Ethan was bleeding. Again. Drunk driving. Again. When the nurse asked for family medical history, I answered automatically. Oh, negative, I said when she asked my blood type. She paused. That's unusual. What is? She looked uncomfortable. His blood type doesn't match yours. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because that's what you do when reality says something impossible. Later, in the hallway, Ethan sat on the edge of a hospital bed, IV in his arm. They asked if you're really my father, he said, staring at the floor. He tried to smile. It didn't work. People say stupid things, I told him. But something inside me shifted. That night I didn't sleep. I opened old boxes, birth certificates, hospital paperwork, insurance records. Then I found something I wasn't supposed to notice. The conception window for Lily didn't line up with the 6 weeks I had been in Chicago during the bridge emergency. Back then Kelly had told me, stay longer, they need you. Now those words echoed differently. I didn't accuse her. I didn't confront her. Cold men don't confront without evidence. They collect it. 2 weeks later, I mailed DNA kits. Ethan's coffee mug, Lily's hairbrush, Olivia's water glass. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. I opened it at 2:14 a.m. Olivia, confirmed biological child. I exhaled. Then I read Ethan's result. 0% probability. My hand tightened. I read it again. Excluded. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. I walked into the garage and punched the wall until my knuckles split. Not because he wasn't mine biologically. Because I had spent 30 years wondering why he always felt distant. And now I knew. I went back inside, picked up the papers. There was still Lily's. I almost didn't open it. Maybe one child was enough. Maybe this was survivable. I opened it. 0% probability. That's when something inside me didn't explode. It froze. Anger is loud. Cold is quiet. And quiet men are dangerous. The next morning Kelly asked for a divorce. I can't live in this constant judgment, she said. Judgment. That word almost made me laugh. She demanded the lake house. Spousal support. full custody. And I agreed, because if I revealed the DNA immediately, she would deny it. Cry, claim emotional abuse, paint me unstable. No, I needed her confident, careless. But there was something she didn't know. Ethan had already suspected. I checked our insurance portal one night. He had requested independent genetic screening 6 months earlier. 6 months. He knew, or at least he feared. And instead of confronting her, he drowned it in alcohol. That realization hurt more than the test results. Because she hadn't just lied to me. She had let him grow up thinking something was wrong with him. That's when this stopped being about divorce and started being about timing. I didn't confront Kelly. I hired someone else to confront her past. Private investigator. Discreet. Expensive. Worth every dollar. Within 3 weeks, the pattern wasn't a suspicion anymore. It was architecture. Marcus Hill, construction supervisor, Dallas, 1996. Kelly volunteered at the project site to help with community outreach. Timeline matched Ethan. Daniel Reed, personal trainer at the private club Kelly joined while I was in Chicago. Timeline matched Lily. 2 different men. Years apart. Not a mistake. Maintenance. That's what this was, the investigator said, sliding the folder toward me. You weren't replaced. You were stabilized. Stabilized. I paid the mortgage. I paid the schools. I paid for rehab. They paid nothing. And she kept them close enough to benefit. That word changed everything. This wasn't about passion. It was strategy. For weeks, I told myself maybe it was only Ethan. Maybe Lily was mine. Maybe there was still something real left in this. But the timelines were airtight. 2 separate affairs. 2 separate lies. 1 consistent outcome. Leverage. And then came the unexpected twist. Ethan called me one night. Sober. Barely. Dad, he said quietly, if you found out something about our family, something big, would you tell me? My pulse slowed. Why would you ask that? Because I already know something's wrong. Silence. Then he said it. I did a DNA test last year. The air left my lungs. And? I asked carefully. I didn't open the results, he said. I couldn't. That hurt. He had lived with suspicion alone. While she smiled at dinner. That's when I stopped feeling conflicted. This wasn't just betrayal. This was damage. The divorce hearing approached. Mark, my attorney, asked the obvious question. Why not reveal the DNA in court? Because if I expose her now, I said, she becomes the victim. He nodded slowly. And if you don't, she celebrates. And people who celebrate stop protecting themselves. That's when the strategy formed. Let her win. Let her feel safe. Let her file for maximum custody. Let her demand permanent no contact. Let her go too far. The more she reached, the more she revealed intent. And then she made the mistake I was waiting for. 3 days after the divorce decree, she filed for a permanent restraining modification. She wanted Lily legally separated from me. Emotionally unstable, the motion claimed. Manipulative, dangerous. That was greed. That was overreach. That was the opening. Mark looked at me in his office. If we file now, he said quietly, this won't just reopen finances. What will it do? It will question the entire foundation of the marriage. Good. Schedule a family disclosure meeting, I said. All of them? All of them. Olivia, Ethan, Lily, Kelly. Neutral ground. Conference room. No hiding. She agreed instantly. She thought it was about custody terms. She thought she could dominate the room one more time. She walked in wearing white. Confident. Controlled. Untouchable. She saw the envelope on the table. Her smile faltered. Just slightly. What's that? She asked. Closure, I said. And for the first time in months, she didn't look certain. Kelly rolled her eyes when she saw the envelope. This is unnecessary drama, she said lightly. If this is about visitation schedules, we can handle it like adults. Mark didn't answer. He opened the envelope. Paper slid onto the table. The sound alone changed the air in the room. Ethan went still. Olivia leaned forward instinctively. Lily looked confused, almost annoyed. I felt clear. The illusion was gone. And without illusion, there's nothing left to protect. Kelly thought she won the day. I said, I agree. She walked out of that courtroom with the house, the sympathy, and applause. I walked out with silence. 3 months later, silence became evidence. 6 months later, evidence became consequence. A year later, I sat at a small dining table in a modest apartment, listening to Ethan argue with Olivia about politics while Lily sketched at the corner of the table. Not one of them shares my DNA. All of them share my history. Kelly kept the lake house for a while. Then the mortgage kept her. The men she once protected stepped back when accountability arrived. The victory she celebrated turned out to be a receipt. She thought divorce was the battlefield. It wasn't. Truth was. Truth doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It waits. It documents. And it lands when the other side feels safest. When my lawyer leaned toward me in that courtroom and whispered, "If you accept this now, she walks away clean." I stayed silent, because the strongest move isn't the loud one. It's the one they don't see coming. Thank you for listening. Calm justice doesn't shout. It keeps records. I stood. My voice didn't shake. 3 months ago, I ordered DNA testing. Kelly's smile stiffened. Ryan, don't. I needed to know the truth. Ethan closed his eyes. He already knew what was coming. I handed Olivia the first report. You're my biological daughter. She blinked, relieved, confused. Then I slid the second paper toward Ethan. There is no biological relationship between us. Silence. No screaming. No gasping. Just silence so heavy it felt physical. Ethan let out a slow breath. I figured, he whispered. Kelly snapped toward him. What do you mean you figured? He looked at her for the first time in weeks. I did a test last year. Her composure cracked. You what? He didn't answer. Lily's eyes darted between us. What is happening? I handed her the third report. Her hands trembled as she read. Then she read it again. No, she said softly. Then louder. No. Kelly stood up. This is manipulation. Those tests can be wrong. Mark calmly placed certified lab verification on the table. Multiple confirmations, he said. Lily looked at her mother. Mom? Kelly didn't deny it. That was the worst part. She didn't deny it. Ethan's jaw tightened. So I wasn't crazy, he muttered. Olivia stood slowly. How long? She asked her mother. Kelly swallowed. Since 1996, the year Ethan was conceived. And Lily? Olivia pressed. Kelly looked away. That was confirmation. Lily's voice broke. Who is he? I answered. Daniel Reed. Kelly shot me a look filled with venom. You had no right to investigate my past. You had no right to rewrite mine, I replied. Ethan stood up suddenly. Do you know what it's like, he said, voice shaking, to grow up thinking you don't belong? To think something's wrong with you? Kelly's voice turned defensive. I was protecting the family. You were protecting control, Olivia snapped. Lily's tears were silent. Then she asked the question that almost broke me. Did you ever regret loving us? The room stopped. All eyes on me. If I hesitated, I would lose her. Never, I said immediately. But I regret that it was built on lies. She stood up abruptly. For a second, just 1 second, I thought she was walking toward me. Instead, she walked to her mother. That moment cut deeper than any betrayal. Ethan noticed. His eyes hardened. This is what you did, he said to Kelly. You divided everything. Kelly's voice rose. He's trying to destroy me financially. Mark calmly slid bank transfer records onto the table. Payments. To Marcus. To Daniel. For years. Olivia's face went white. You were funding them? Kelly didn't answer. Ethan laughed once. Short. Hollow. So while I was in rehab, you were still sending money. Lily stepped away from her mother slowly. That shift was visible. Kelly saw it too. Panic flickered in her eyes. You're choosing him? She asked Lily. Lily looked at her. No, she said softly. I'm choosing truth. That was the turning point. Kelly sat down slowly. For the first time since this started. She looked small. I stepped forward carefully. I didn't bring this here to destroy you, I said calmly. I brought it here because I refuse to let lies decide who I am to my children. Ethan didn't leave. Olivia didn't leave. Lily didn't leave. Kelly did. She walked out without another word. The door closed softly, and that was louder than any scream. Kelly thought the worst part was over when she walked out of that conference room. It wasn't. It had just begun. The following Monday, Mark filed a motion to reopen the settlement under fraud and misrepresentation of paternity. 3 words that erased her victory. The court didn't move emotionally. It moved procedurally. Assets were frozen. Spousal support suspended. Custody terms re-evaluated. The Lake House appraisal reopened. Kelly called me that night. For the first time in decades, she sounded unsure. "You're ruining my life," she said. "No," I replied calmly. "I stopped financing it." Silence. Then anger. "You let me stand in court and look like a liar. You handled that part yourself." She hung up. 2 days later, her attorney requested emergency mediation. He didn't sound confident anymore. This could get ugly, he warned Mark privately. Mark's answer was simple. "It already is." During the next hearing, the judge reviewed the certified DNA results. Then the financial records. Then the timeline of conception against documented travel assignments. The courtroom energy was different this time. No applause. No pity. Just calculation. "Mrs. Collins," the judge said carefully, "did you knowingly allow Mr. Collins to assume legal and financial responsibility for children who were not biologically his?" Kelly tried to cry, but she wasn't good at crying on command. "I did what I thought was best for stability," she whispered. The judge didn't react. Stability does not nullify deception. That line changed everything. The revised order came 6 weeks later. Spousal support eliminated. Property division adjusted in my favor. Child support legally nullified for Ethan and Lily due to fraudulent representation. Kelly kept the house, but only by refinancing it under crushing terms. Victory turned into debt. Marcus Hill denied involvement publicly. Daniel Reed admitted paternity privately but refused long-term responsibility. The men she protected disappeared. Maintenance collapsed. The hardest part wasn't the court. It was watching the children process it. Ethan checked into rehab voluntarily. "I need to figure out who I am without lies," he told me. Olivia started therapy sessions for all of us. Lily avoided both of us for 2 weeks. Then she showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her eyes were swollen. "She says you're destroying her," Lily whispered. I handed her a glass of water. "Am I?" She says if you hadn't gone digging, none of this would have happened. I looked at her carefully. "Truth doesn't destroy," I said. "It exposes." She didn't argue. That was the first step back toward me. Kelly texted the children constantly. Apologies mixed with blame. Guilt mixed with victimhood. But the leverage was gone. Without money. Without control. Without the illusion. She had nothing to negotiate with. And for the first time in 34 years, I wasn't reacting. I was steady. 6 months later, the silence felt different. Not heavy. Honest. Ethan was 68 days sober when we met for coffee downtown. Old Ethan would have been late. Or drunk. This Ethan sat down, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I met him." "Marcus?" I asked. He nodded. "And? He looks like me," Ethan said. "But he doesn't feel like you." That sentence mattered. Marcus had offered explanations. Regret. A half-hearted apology. But when Ethan told him about rehab, about the hospital hallway, about wondering his entire life why he felt disconnected, Marcus didn't know what to say. Because biology answers questions. It doesn't build history. "Do you regret knowing?" I asked carefully. Ethan shook his head. "I regret her lying. Not you loving me." That was the difference. Lily's journey was quieter. She met Daniel Reed once. Public place. 22 minutes. He apologized. Said he had been young. Said he didn't know Kelly would keep the pregnancy. Afterward, Lily called me. "Dad?" "Yes." He asked about my art. "And?" He said I have his smile. I waited. "But I have your patience." That broke something inside me. In a good way. Olivia became the anchor. She organized Sunday dinners again. Not at the lake house. At my apartment. Smaller table. Real conversation. The first dinner was tense. The second was cautious. By the third, Ethan made a sarcastic comment and Lily rolled her eyes at him. Normal. It felt normal. Kelly wasn't invited. Not as punishment. As boundary. 3 weeks later, Kelly asked to meet. No lawyers. No kids. Just us. We met at the lake house. It looked less like a trophy now. More like a liability. I'm selling it, she said. That was fast. I can't afford it. Silence. I thought love was enough, she added quietly. It could have been, I replied. If it had been honest. She looked tired. You stayed silent for months. Yes. Why? Because rage gives power. Silence takes it back. Because I needed truth to land where it belonged, I said. She nodded slowly. For once, she didn't argue. When I left, I didn't feel victorious.